This morning the sun has just been in my face nonstop, and it's right at an angle where this visor doesn't really block it. If I sit back, it's always right in the holes of the visor, right where the visor just can't quite cover it. I want to get like pieces of cardboard to put in those spots on the visor, just clip it on there so that it blocks those spots. So yeah, driving out here in the salt flats in the morning, it's beautiful. The sun staring at it for an hour. Look at the beautiful reflection off the water. It's amazing. I've seen it many times. So why not? Why not talk about my ex-wife? I don't want to talk about my ex-wife because it was such a horrible, terrible thing. That psychotic, evil woman. And I don't say that. I don't call people names. I'm not going to call her psychotic. Other people call her psychotic. Her own mother calls her a sociopath. I have the court documents here in my truck where my ex-wife took her own mother and father-in-law to court saying that they abused and neglected the kids. Oh, she dropped the kids off and left them with the grandparents while she disappeared with some guy for years. And that's not the first time she's done that. While I was deployed, she left the kids with the grandmother while she was off drinking with the guy she's currently married to. And before I met her, when her son was 6 months old, she left her son with the neighbors for 6 weeks and ran off with her son's father on a heroin binge. And I found that out after I got divorced. So she's very, very keen, or what do I say what the word is? She's an oxycodone addict. Used to use heroin. I don't know what else she was using. I know Xanax, because she would get Xanax when she came back from the behavioral health center, otherwise, aka the nut house. She went there several times during the marriage. The first time was when I came home with groceries. We lived on a third-story apartment on the second floor. The first floor was a parking garage. Anyway, I came in with groceries, and she's on the back patio, the balcony. And the sliding glass door was open, and I set the groceries on the counter, and I walk out there, and I could see her legs just around the corner. And she's sitting in the chair outside, and she between her feet there was a bottle of Jack Daniels, and she had all of her pills in her hand, and she's like putting them back in the pill bottle. And I was just walking out, she was like putting them all back in there. She had every single one in her hand with the bottle of Jack Daniels. So she wasn't just counting her medication, she was about to take some stuff, or she was taking her pills, or no, I walked in on it. So she had them all out. She might have been selling them. This might have been a history that I never knew. But it definitely is. She was 6 months pregnant at the time. So she was either going to commit suicide or she was doing something else. But being 6 months pregnant with the open bottle of Jack Daniels and all her pills, that wasn't a good sign. I called the police. She went down to the parking garage and got in the car. I followed her down there and blocked the exit. So she got out of the car and went out to the street and got in the other car that was parked out there, which was a 1990 Ford Mustang LX with the 4-banger engine in it. I think it only fired on 3 cylinders. They had no power. It was slow. Piece of junk car. But it was her original car. I had a 2002 Ford Escort ZX2. A red one. So I was just following her. She went into Poway. I was on the phone with the police as she was driving, saying she's driving erratically. She's trying to spin out and do like donuts or whatever, and do like U-turns. She was trying to peel out and like spin around, do U-turn to ditch me. but the car had no power, couldn't go anywhere, and it didn't. I was just driving normal, keeping up with her, and she drove right by the police department. Like 10 police officers in their cars came out, pulled her over. I pulled into a parking lot. They were talking to me. They had her in handcuffs on the curb. They took her to the behavioral health center, and they drove the car to the police station. Poway Police Department, parked in their lot, and I didn't know there's no overnight parking. Otherwise, I would have got the car and moved it. But it ended up going to impound. We lost the car, and she spent 10 days at the behavioral health center, and then came back. She had no medications and stuff. Oh, happy, joy, everything's fine. It wasn't very long until I was right back to yelling and screaming. As soon as I come back, yell and scream at me. Never even around. Most of the time I had to go stay at the barracks because things were getting so absolutely out of control. I was never yelling, never screaming. As soon as she started raising her voice, I'd just walk outside. And that was advised to me by all of my commanding officers, staff sergeants, gunnery sergeants, and everybody were saying, if things start getting out of control, you go out, stand outside, because when the police show up and you're inside, they can say domestic violence and I'll get arrested. So to protect me, they had me staying at the barracks. They didn't even have a barracks room for me, so I ended up just putting a mattress on the floor in a lobby, and that's where I stayed most of the time during my marriage. I had to stay at the barracks, and she would be there, and that guy that she was having an affair with would be coming over. So she'd yell and scream at me, I'd leave, and then she'd have that guy come over. And then when I was deployed, she left the kids with the grandmother. Well, the grandmother was staying at our military housing. It had a 2-story, 3-bedroom house, 2.5 bath, backyard, single car garage with a den. Really nice place. After I deployed, the last thing she said to me before I walked on base in Yuma, Arizona, she said, I want a divorce. And that's not that's like the millionth time she said, I want a divorce. The first time she said she wanted a divorce, immediately after saying, I want a divorce, she said, by the way, I'm pregnant. I walked in the door, she said, I want a divorce, and by the way, I'm pregnant. Show me the pregnancy test. That's how I found out my wife was pregnant.